welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your boy MagMongoSlade. Today, we got a live stream going. There's a lot on the plate today. AEW apparently has put out a ban list of various things that they will no longer allow talent to do without permission, or some things they will not allow talent to do at all. So we're going to go through that. We're also going to talk about GCW and their especially Carney move and promoting Jeff Hardy, and then later on telling people that Jeff Hardy won't be wrestling. Then we're also going to talk about the Seth Rollins NXT comments. Apparently, they caused a bit of a stir, so I guess I'll read those and see what happened there. Then we'll go into the Ryback stuff, because apparently Ryback has just been going off the last 2 weeks, cussing and yelling at people. So I guess we'll talk about Ryback near the end. So, hello, how are you doing? Are you okay? How was your Thursday? My Thursday was busy. It was a busy Thursday. I'm not a big fan of busy Thursdays. I like my Thursdays to be pretty cool, but today was Thursdays. I like my Thursdays. It was alright though. Can't complain. So let's get comfortable. I'm not using. I watched the Fightful live stream that featured Sean Ross Sapp talking about a lot of the moves and things that was banned or restricted in AEW. And I have to say, not a big fan of Sean Ross Sapp. Not a big fan of how he does things. But he made some good points about how this thing is going to go. I'm pretty sure a lot of people already know how it's going to go. But just in case you didn't, rules for thee, not for me, is what I'll say. The rules are made for certain people, not for others. I can tell you that right now. I wouldn't be too concerned. I don't think Jon Moxley cares too much right now. There's probably one thing here that bothers him actively. So I don't think he'll be bothered right now. But some of this stuff does seem like targeted. They see stuff on the show and they said, we don't like this, or this is, making people feel bad, so we don't want that anymore. But we're going to get into it. I got to get comfortable first, though. I'm very uncomfortable right now. So let's get comfortable, and then we're going to get into it. How's everybody doing? I'm him 24/7, Prince Ali. How are you guys doing? Everybody's pretty upset. I'm surprised that AEW decided to hand out some rules. I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because it's been pretty clear for a little while now that they got a new TV contract and a new TV deal. And comes with that new TV contract and that new TV deal is likely more restrictions, especially if they're getting more money than they were getting before. And it's got to be decent money, because really what made AEW stand out from WWE was the minimized restrictions on the product, meaning that a lot of the talent could do whatever they wanted. And then you started seeing how limited the talent were, because you started seeing the same stuff in every match. But that was the benefit of AEW. The benefit of AEW was it was the place you could go and bleed. It was the place where you could actually do a power driver. It was the place where, the main event guys didn't dictate, what was going on in the early part of the show. the agents and all those kinds of guys were just, they tossed suggestions at you. You went out there and did your own thing. But now it looks like from these rules, they have empowered the agents and empowered a lot of these other people to limit some of the things that everybody hated about AEW. So, yeah, there's definitely some Jon Moxley, kicking over a crate or two back there. But I guarantee you, it's probably a lot more other people who are going to be pissed about this rather than Jon Moxley. We said this before about Jon Moxley. Like, he's the kind of guy where he'll take his ball and go home. He'll get his fix somewhere else, no doubt. He wants to blade and get stabbed in the head with skewers. He'll go to New Japan. He'll go to GCW. He'll do that kind of thing, because his contract is non-exclusive. Now, he might be limited in the amount of stuff he can do, but he'll do that stuff elsewhere. Some of these other guys who have been working at AEW, getting over, basically doing the same things other people have been doing, man, they're going to be screwed. And that's going to be good. So let's get into this, because there's two different lists. There's a list of things that are outright banned. Then there's a list of things that are restricted. Basically, you can only do it with permission. Okay. So let's get into the list of things that are outright banned. It says, according to Fightful Select, several moves, actions are now banned or restricted in AEW. As the company is adopting a new health and safety protocol, a document was sent out that several people in AEW have confirmed as being legitimate, although several wrestlers haven't seen it yet. So let's get into this. So it was noted the document that banned things that they cannot do, are unprotected chair shots to the head, shots to the back of the head, buckle bombs and blind moves backwards into the turnbuckle, fencing responses, which are unnatural position of the arms following a concussion, of seizure cells, spitting, bleeding in the crowd, weapons or projectiles in the crowd, taking drinks or food from the guests in the crowd, or physical contact with the crowd. Well, goddamn, you got Bryan Danielson upset about the seizure cells because he's been doing that. He did it against Okada. He did the seizure, the twitching. He was doing that. Moxley loves to bleed, and he loves to do crowd brawling. So he now can't bleed and crowd brawl at the same time. He might be able to do one or the other. MJF, his whole gimmick is going into the crowd, taking people's hats, throwing drinks in their face, or whatever the hell. So he's going to be pissed. Unprotected chair shots to the head, they should have banned that off rip. That's something that should have been gone a long time ago. How they still have allowed unprotected chair shots to the head is ridiculous to me. How they allow shots to the back of the head. I'm guessing they mean chair shots to the back of the head, because otherwise, like, why would it be? It's technically a rabbit punch. It's already illegal, but I don't think they would ban like a clothesline to the back of the head. So I would imagine it's a chair shot, hitting people with belts or whatever the case may be. Buckle bombs. Buckle bombs are a little bit. That's kind of. That one's. I'm on the fence about that. I understand that. I'm on the fence about that. And because I understand, if you can't see where you throwing your opponent is inherently dangerous, and that's an important piece of business. You need to be able to see where your opponent is going to land. And buckle bombs has injured more people than I think that it. And it's not really a big spot. It's not a huge spot, really. It's like, I've never been impressed by a buckle bomb. Just never. Especially when they started doing them on the ring post or doing them on the barricade. It's like, come on. Let's get real here. These things are kind of silly. I don't know if they should be banned, but I don't know. You know, it's just I'm okay with them banning it. If I guess you could say I'm not against them banning it, but I personally, just kind of confused about that. Anyway, um, spitting. I am 100% against spitting. I hate spit. I dislike spitting so much. To me, it's legitimate fighting stuff if you spit on somebody. I don't see the benefit of spitting. You know, I don't see it. It's off. The fencing responses though is an interesting one because some people, like I said, Daniel Bryan, he really liked fencing responses. Because the pretending to be, seizured or concussed or whatever the case may be. I wonder why they decided to ban that. I guess they wanted to ban it because they don't want people getting the wrong idea. You know, I don't know, like seizure selling. It's on the line. Seizure selling is on the line. I think that banning somebody from twitching when they get like power drived or DDT'd or something like that. That's a little bit on the line where I can see why you would, but I don't know. That's WWE again. Like, there's so many people who complained. That's an interesting thing before we move to the restricted things. Some of this stuff is the reason why guys joined AEW, you know, because they can sell however they want it when WWE was telling people how to sell. And now AEW is telling people how to sell. You can't sell a certain way. You can't twitch while you sell. You can't seizure sell. I remember a certain balding turtle-like wrestler who worked in Impact, was in NXT for a little bit, never got used on SmackDown, and then went to Impact, complained about how WWE told him how to sell, who also likes to Twitch sell. Very interesting. a certain Ninja Turtle wrestler who's been sitting at home apparently under WWE contracts for months. I'm not going to talk about that too much though. But yeah, physical contact with the crowd sounds like that should never have been happening in the first place. MJF going into the crowd, taking people's beers and pouring it all over them, knocking people's hats off. You never should have been doing that anyway, because you never know what a drunk idiot might do, might say, how he might react, and it's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Interacting with the crowd in terms of why you're bleeding and stuff, it might be cool for the indies, but I don't think it's going to work on a mainstream stage. National television, you bleeding into the crowd and all this kind of crap. It's like, get over it. Stop doing that. Just don't do it. It's dumb. I'm talking about a certain frightened gentleman in Team Canada. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so here's a list of moves and actions that the company wants talent to have approved by coaches or officials. Spots and bumps on the ring, apron, and outside. Table, ladder, chair spots in and out of the ring, only allowed with padding. Any elevated spots outside of the barricades, dives, and ladder spots on stage, around the arena, and other places outside of the ring. All power driver tombstone variations, including sit-down power drivers, inverted poison hurricane rana, and vertebreakers. High-risk dives or top rope moves, the 450, 630 double moonsaults, shooting star press, intentional bleeding of any sort, not just blading, throwing people into, through, over the ring steps, commentary table, bell table, or guardrails, barricades, weapon usage, chairs, pipes, kendo sticks, hammers, ring bells, bats, chains, etc., title belts. Thumbtacks, skewers, barbed wire, or other sharp puncturing objects, powders, aerosol sprays, or liquids. Throwing any weapons or objects like chairs, choking or strangling with hands or a weapon with spots, Injury spots or angles, whether or not medical is involved or called to the ring, any physicality in the crowd or crowd brawling, any physicality involving referees, managers, extra celebrities, or special guests. So what we're telling people is we were not limiting this stuff before, but now we are. Now, this is where the rules for the not for me stuff comes in, because this is the stuff that has to be approved by your agent, right? So that means if the main event guys want to do something, they're going to get to do it. Everybody else is going to be banned from doing it. That's what the rules for the not for me kind of thing comes from. If Kenny Omega wants to do a table or a chair spot, you think he's not going to be able to do it? He's going to do it. His agent is not going to tell him no. You know, the Young Bucks are going to be able to do whatever they want, while I can guarantee you AR Fox and all these guys are going to be limited in what they can do. The big one, of course, for the regular person on AEW's roster is the high risk or top rope moves. The 450, 630 double moonsaults, etc. You know how many guys on that roster live to do moonsaults or flips of any kind? And now you're telling them that only a certain number of these moves are going to be able to be used on the same show? So you mean to tell me that somebody's going to get to be the shooting star press guy, somebody's going to get to be the 630 guy, somebody's going to get to be the 450 guy? You know, only one person is going to be able to do a springboard anything, because it's going to be limited. So that means if there's 8 springboard moonsaults on the card, that's going to be all these agents basically just let it go. But the point of this stuff is to limit those things. That's the point of this stuff, right? So that means that only certain people are going to get to do it. So that means that even if you can do it, they might not let you do it. I mean, some people are going to be able to get over, and other people won't. Rules for me, not for thee. And rules for thee, not for me. I get it. WWE has been operating the same way for a long time. I mean, WWE banned power drivers years ago, but Undertaker got to continue doing a tombstone. You know, nobody had a problem with that. You know, like I think maybe in the last few years, I think only CM Punk has been the only other person to do a tombstone. I mean, a power driver, in a match that didn't involve Undertaker or something like that. I think he might have been the only one. So, but power drivers have been banned for a long time. So what about the Canadian Destroyer, which is technically a power driver? And if they count the Poison Rana as a power driver, oh my God, how many people's move sets have just been slashed overnight because you can't do a Poison Rana or a Canadian Destroyer or a power driver? That means MJF's Heat Seeker. That's a power driver. So no doubt MJF's going to be allowed to do whatever he wants. But what about Toni Storm? Like, her finisher is also a power driver. So what are they going to do? They going to make her change her finisher? What about the Tiger Driver 91 or whatever the hell it was that Will Ospreay did? No doubt, again, like I said, I'm pretty sure Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega want to do a dangerous move. They're going to be able to do it. Nobody's going to tell them no. But other people is not going to get the opportunity to do that. And what about that, for instance? Because Will Ospreay technically doesn't work for AEW. Does this also apply to the talent that come in from New Japan or people who come in from one shots? Like, we know everybody under WWE contract is under WWE contract, but what about the people who are not under AEW contract? I guess they still have to use these rules. So that means that certain people in New Japan who like to do some of these things too are going to be limited in what they can do. Now, but also another question I have is, does this apply to Ring of Honor? Like, I don't think Ring of Honor is part of their TV deal, but are we all of a sudden going to start saying that Ring of Honor guys have to get approval before they can do all of these flips and power drivers and blading and stuff? WG Phil says, isn't for FTR Bald's finisher a tights pull power driver, The Bucks tag team finisher is, yes, the Meltzer driver, a 450 pile driver. I mean, that's the question. And FTR like to do the Brain Busters finisher, which is a spiked pile driver. So you have all these people who like using the pile drivers, but there's only going to be a certain number of pile drivers allowed on the show. Now, are you going to tell me FTR is going to be told they can't do a pile driver? Now, how it works in WWE is the big dogs call dibs. You know, you saw a couple of years ago when Roman Reigns said, hey, we don't want nobody doing the table spot because we're doing it in the main event, and everybody got all pissy about it. Oh, well, Roman get to make that because he's the big dog. That's why. You know, he's on top. He's a main event guy. He gets to make that choice. So that means when the Young Bucks are working in the main event and they decide they want to break out a power driver, nobody else should be able to use the power driver on the show. Then TN Pyro is correct. Somebody like Chris Statlander, somebody like Tony Storm might be affected by that new rule. So if they're on the show, they can't use power drivers, or they need to have permission. So if you do a similar move to a guy in the main event, then and it takes away from what he does, he's going to be able to blame your agent. Why you allowed him to do a power driver? Why you let them do a table spot knowing we was going to do a table spot in the main event? It's the exact same shit as what happens in WWE. Exactly the same thing. The only difference is nobody uses power drivers in WWE. Not really. I think you might get the occasional Canadian destroyer, but that's it. That's really the only power driver. You don't even see a naked power driver anymore, or one of those cactus power drivers. So I'm questioning this. The intentional bleeding of any kind, not just blading. You know, now John Moxley is pretty much like, okay, you're playing with me here. I just did my dissertation on blading last week, and then this week they banned the shit. I bet you're like, fuck. They banned my blading. What's going on? What the fuck? But he's going to be fine. Again, he's John Moxley. They're not going to fine him or do anything to him because he wants to blade. It's the same thing with Danielson. Danielson left WWE. One of the things he had a problem with is the fact that he couldn't blade. You know? And so now you're telling me that at least two guys who left WWE because they couldn't blade are now being told in AEW that they can't blade. And you can't hard way. So it's not even just blading. I mean, if you purposefully try to make somebody bleed, you need permission. Now, I'm pretty sure they're going to get the rubber stamp. Again, I'm pretty sure Moxley is going to get that rubber stamp. That Moxley, but I'm going to get some blood. And nobody's going to tell me no. And that's going to be it. But it might just be him. You know, for his match, there might be blood. But, you know, he just said last week that he wants less blood more often. Every match should have blood in it because we're all fighting. And then AEW was like, nope. We're going to limit the amount of blood on this show, which, you know, they probably should have been doing already anyway. I'm on the fence about blading. You know, I don't mind if people blade, but I do believe that it's overused. And since people are getting caught blading on television, it's kind of goofy. You know, just learn how to blade properly, please. All right, so now the various bumps. It says throwing people into, through, or over the ring steps, commentary table, bell table. I think this is a Jim Ross inspired move because they started putting the announce team near the ring, and people kept throwing the wrestlers into the announce table. And apparently there's a bar in the announce table that was banging against his shins, and he was really pissed about that. Or just that the table was being used without, you know, all the time throughout the show anyway. So I guess that's a good point. I mean, that's just one of those things where you need to limit the amount of people who are interacting with these tables and stuff anyway. But the steps, that's an interesting one. You need permission to use the steps now. Now, I would imagine each of these things are individual. So somebody gets to the steps first. Somebody gets to the table first, or the main event guys just get to do whatever the fuck they want, which is what I'm guessing is going to end up happening out of here. I'm just guessing that all this stuff is just a suggestion, and that when you're in a main event talent, you can do whatever you want. So it says here, thumbtacks, skewers, barbed wire, any other sharp or puncturing objects. They don't use puncturing objects very often, with the exception of the screwdriver. So I guess they're going to get the okay to do the screwdriver because they've been doing it already. So it's going to get grandfathered in. They also still like to do these barbed wire matches, so they're probably going to end up doing that, but they might end up just doing fake barbed wire, which, they kind of was using a little bit of that before. But the thumbtacks, oh boy, I bet you they heard about that. They're probably going to move to Legos, which is what a lot of people did when thumbtacks are not available. They do Legos. Okay, Legos are even dumber because they're blocks. That shit hurts. It's dumb. Throwing weapons like chairs and stuff. I don't see why you would throw things anyway. I don't understand the concept of throwing something in wrestling. I understand that that's one of the Sabu moves. He likes to throw chairs in people's faces, and it works for Sabu. But we also saw that Matt Hardy got his brain scrambled because somebody threw a chair at him. WG Phil says, "Is this purely for house shows or is for TV?" It's for TV. They very rarely do house shows, so this is certainly for TV. WG Phil says, "I'm conflicted. I agree that for a house show, they shouldn't do too much in the ring, but it's hilarious that they're slashing 70% of the AEW moveset. Better learn how to do a headlock, brother. Yeah, they better try to figure it out. They got to figure it out because it's looking tough out here for this stuff. Now, if they want to limit things for a house show, they need to limit more things for house shows, if we're being honest, because you really don't want to get anybody hurt on a house show. They say any physicality involving referees, managers, extra celebrities, or special guests. Well, I would imagine you have to go through your agent to do that anyway. I would imagine that all that kind of stuff would be designed. Same thing with crowd brawling. I would imagine that should be designed. Injury angles or spots, yes, absolutely, that should be designed. Why else would you be doing it? Like, who just goes and does an injury spot on their own? Like, why would you do an injury spot on your own? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Choking or strangling. Remember, Daniel Bryan was fired from WWE immediately for strangling. So that's something that we can look into. Now, this is one of those things where it's not banned. It's restricted. So that means if they do a dog collar match, they probably will allow them to choke and do things like this. The utilization of weapons such as chairs, pipes, kendo sticks, etc. I would imagine all of that stuff should have been restricted anyway. Like, why would you want a bunch of people using weapons all the time? So a lot of the things that have been restricted probably should have been restricted the whole time. So it is what it is. TN Pyro says, does it say when these rules take effect? Because Blood and Guts is next week. I would imagine Blood and Guts is going to let them do whatever they want. See, because it's main event guys. They'll probably just let them do whatever they want. I would imagine the rules will be in effect immediately, I would imagine. I guess they would have to have some kind of backstage discussion about it. There may be one or two backstage discussions about it, and then that might be it. If you're Tony Khan, I mean, how much of this stuff do you really move on though? Like, everything here is reasonable. There's nothing here that's outrageous. Everything here is reasonable. And if you're saying, hey, you can't go into the crowd and throw shit, and MJF starts bitching, like, why do you want to go into the crowd and throw stuff? Why run that risk? Why do you want to crowd brawl without permission? Anything can happen. We need to be able to control as much of this as possible. You don't want to get hit with a lawsuit, do you? The blading. Yes, we need to control who's blading. And also if we know who's going to bleed, we also know, hey, we might need to know when he's going to blade, and then be able to not film him blading. But I think we will notice, because remember there was a time when WWE banned a lot of outrageous things at one time, where they banned like shooting star presses and 450 splashes and stuff like that, and it seemed ridiculous that all that stuff just vanished overnight. Like people just stopped doing them. Like the power drivers were faded out because a lot of people weren't doing power drivers anyway. So it was easy to notice the power drivers went away. But when you started seeing some of the smaller guys no longer doing, 450s or moonsaults or anything like that, and you were like, what's going on here? And then Hoovy busted out a 450 on SmackDown and got himself canned. Everybody was like, huh? That was out of nowhere. But I don't know. Like these limitations, you're looking at it and you're saying, if you're a top guy, you should be good. Like the Daniel Bryans and the Moxleys, I'm pretty sure they kind of like shaking their head, but you can pretty much tell that Tony Khan's going to pull them in the room and say, whatever you want to do, go do it. I trust you, go do it. These rules are for everybody else. These are for the Dante Martins and the AR Foxes and and all of these underneath guys. Those are going to be the guys who are going to be affected by the rule change. I don't see at all the main event guys being affected by this. But the fact that they are just now telling people not to go into the crowd is like, that's ridiculous. You should have told them that a long time ago. As a matter of fact, it should be one of those things that you should know better to not go into the crowd. You shouldn't go into the crowd at an indie show. I know GCW, they don't care if people go into the crowd, But if you're running somewhere where you got some money and somebody might sue your ass, don't go into the crowd. But they want to control the tables and the ladders and the kendo sticks and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with it. Nothing here is over the top, except for you're going to probably start seeing how many people they're going to limit, when it comes to doing certain things in a match, in terms of the flips and the dives and everything. Because they're not going to tell Darby Allin he can't do his torpedo thing. They're not going to tell him he can't do it. So what would be the point in saying we're going to limit dives? Are you telling Commander and Vikingo they can't do their dives? Are you going to tell Bandito he can't do his dives? Are you going to tell like Andrade he can't do his dives? Are you going to tell Pac he can't do his dives and his flips and his jumps? These guys, they live off that stuff. You just hired an 18-year-old kid where 90% of his offense is basically the same shit as Will Ospreay, which includes a lot of flips and dives. And now you're telling these people they can't. That's crazy. That's nuts. All right. That's the thing that's going to really, what it's going to do is it's going to cause a problem. The top shelf guys, the old Ring of Honor dudes that they've been bringing in, they're not even going to feel these rules. They're probably not even going to pay this shit no attention. This stuff is going to be for everybody else. And then those are going to be the people who, when it's all said and done, they're going to be like, yeah, when they set in all those rules, I'm limited about what I can do. And at that point, they're going to be like, well, shit. These rules existed to get the Young Bucks over or to get the people who are their friends. Because, again, who gets to pick the agents? The top guys get to pick their agents. And if the moves have to be accepted by the agent, then, again, who's going to tell these people no? It's like when Arn Anderson was Randy Savage's agent in WCW. And he said, like, I'm not going to go tell Randy Savage what he can and can't do. And I'm not telling Randy Savage whether he's going to put anybody over or not. I go to Randy and I ask him, what do you want to do? That's what it's going to be in AEW. I'm not going to tell Jon Moxley he can't bleed. I'm going to walk up to Jon Moxley and say, what do you want to do? And then he's going to tell me, and then I'm going to go over and say, hey, guys, Jon Moxley wants to bleed in his match, so maybe, just maybe, nobody else should get blood on the show. Moxley wants to use a table on his match. Maybe other people won't get to use a table. Jericho wants to use a table, or he wants to hit somebody with a bat. So nobody else gets to use a bat. Oh, Sting wants, well, they probably don't care about Sting. Sting probably be okay with it, other people using the bat. He probably don't give a shit. But you're going to have people utilizing their power because the agents are not going to tell them no. It's going to be the underneath guys who barely there, barely got a job, probably getting paid per appearance. They're going to be the ones who are going to get fucked. The guys at the top are going to be fine. So for the most part, the CM Punks, the FTRs, they may be affected a little bit by some of this stuff because some of this stuff is outright banned now. So that's going to be, it's going to change how they sell. It's going to change, some of the stuff that they do. But for the most part, the top guys, I can see them not changing that much at all. It's going to be the underneath stuff that's going to change because there's going to be the guys who don't have the stroke to get approval. And they're going to say, well, we've got so-and-so doing a 450 in this match. We got a guy running on the ropes in this match. We got another guy doing the flips in this match. We don't really need another flippy guy on the show right now. Sorry. Learn better arm drags. Tighten up your DDT. Learn how to throw a proper punch at this point. I say this. AEW just took a huge hit in terms of what made them different from WWE. I don't think it's going to change the product that much. Because I think a lot of the top guys are going to do whatever they want. It's going to be the guys at the bottom who are going to be fucking. Like I said, it's truly a shame. But it's inevitable. This stuff was inevitable. Just like when WWE went through and started censoring the network when they got absorbed into Peacock, and I was mad about it, but I was like, it's inevitable, standards and practices. As AEW grows, it's definitely like more standards and practices are going to be applied the more they grow. Because they're going to want to appeal to more sponsors and to more fans. And so they see certain things on this show that are going to be unappealing to certain individuals. The amount of blading, the amount of choking and strangling and cursing and going into the crowd and interactions with the crowd and stuff like that. And people are going to say, you know what? If we limit those things, we might be able to get better sponsors. And that's going to be the goal here, to try to get better sponsors and grow. But the more you do it, the more you become like WWE. And that's just kind of what it is. It's going to become more and more like WWE to the point where it might even be indistinguishable at certain points. Now, they're very smart in so much as they're restricting certain things and not outright banning it, because WWE just outright banned shit. It got to the point where the Undertaker couldn't blade. Even Shawn Michaels couldn't blade. So it got to that point where even dudes who had 20 years in the business in that particular company couldn't even break the rules. They did ban cussing though. They banned cussing in AEW. They used to be able to see. They used to say shit multiple times a week. Now they don't. They don't curse anymore. Like a couple of years ago, I think Jericho said like the only thing that was really like a hard and fast rule was no smoking, because he smoked a cigar on AEW TV once, and he got threatened to get taken off the air because they didn't want any smoking on AEW. And that was like the only thing I heard anybody complain about the entire time that AEW was on, like in terms of a sponsor or Warner Brothers Discovery, was when he lit that cigar on Dynamite one time. And I heard that people spurged about that. And then the pizza cutter, that was the second time, but that was just basically just dominoes at that point. But if you're an undercard guy, man, you're stuck. You're stuck with this. But they banned cussing a long time ago. They had to do something about the cussing. It was too much. The cussing was being way too much. They was over the top with the cursing. And that was the thing that made AEW so different, is the stuff that they could do that WWE wasn't doing. They was doing so much of it that it was over the top. Like the blading. Like, oh, we can bleed in AEW, so now we can just bleed every week and bleed all over each other. Oh, you mean we can get to have hardcore matches on TV? All right, let's just have 20-minute gushers every other week with thumbtacks and tables and falling off everything and multiple times a week, even on Rampage, even with the girls and all this kind of stuff. And everybody was like, it's too much. Turn it down. It's too much, you know? But I guarantee you they're going to ask the Moxleys and the Jerichos and all these people what they think. And they're probably going to say, oh, yeah, it's for the good of the companies, yada, yada, yada. But it's not going to apply to them. It's still not going to apply to them. Yeah, they still curse in AEW, but they just don't cuss as much. I think they limit it to a certain amount per episode, I think. But notice that Jade Cargill basically vanished when they started saying that you couldn't curse anymore. She couldn't say cut the shit anymore. MJF's promos changed a lot too when he couldn't curse. You know, I'm pretty sure there's probably some vulgarity rules too that they didn't mention, because a lot of his sexual innuendo stuff, like him doing like the jack off stuff and stuff like that, he stopped doing that stuff too. So I would imagine he's been talked to. A lot of his sexual innuendo has been toned down. A lot of the cursing has been toned down. And that's about it, you know. Like WWE, they can still, you know, pull out a bitch or you know, I think they say shit every once in a while on WWE, but it's not often, you know. So no, I don't think Jade was let go. I think she's just on vacation. She was working, you know, pretty much the entire time she was TBS champion, and I guess they figured they just want to give her a break. I don't think she's gone. I think she's working a gimmick on Twitter though, where she wants everybody to think that she's leaving. She ain't going nowhere. If she ain't back by the end of the year though, now that could be something. Somebody posted a list of wrestlers who have not been on AEW television and how long they haven't been on there. I hadn't really thought about that, but let's talk about that. Well, I'll talk about it when I can find it. When I find it, I'm gonna talk about it. Until then, let's move on to this GCW thing, because wait, we got breaking news. We got breaking news. Tony Khan says, due to an injury reported this week, Mark Briscoe cannot be cleared to wrestle at Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor next Friday, July 21st. We wish Mark Briscoe the very best in his recovery. ROH World Champion is still training sabbatical to prepare for the huge week ahead. A training sabbatical. Okay. We will address Claudio's pay-per-view challenger next week following the highly anticipated Blood and Guts. So Mark Briscoe was finally about to wrestle for the Ring of Honor World title, and he got injured. Wow. Oh wow. Yeah. How about that? That's crazy. Most people are not talking about that Ring of Honor pay-per-view anyway. You know, that's a shame. You know, that's truly a shame. He's got like a run of bad luck. You know, what a run of bad luck. He's training. That's why he wasn't on Dynamite. He's in training. He's been in training. He ain't training my ass. This is nutty. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find that list. So let's move on to yeah, I didn't know the pay-per-view was happening either, to be quite honest. It's next week too. And it features Mark Briscoe, who you think they would pay attention to. Um, it's pretty crazy. All right, so while I'm looking out for this thing, I'm going to talk about GCW real quick. So GCW is having a show the day before SummerSlam here in Detroit. It's going to be August the 4th at Harpo's, which is literally right around the corner from my house, which is why I go to these shows, because they're really right around the corner from my house. And 2 or 3 days ago, they actually announced Jeff Hardy for that show. So they announced Jeff Hardy to be at the GCW show on August the 4th. And people are just jumping out of their skin. They're like, oh my God, Jeff Hardy is going to be at GCW. Holy shit. We were told that he wasn't taking any outside dates, yada, yada, yada. This is a big get. Then they announced, oh yeah, Jeff Hardy, not only will he be at GCW, but he's also going to perform after the GCW show. So he's going to be on the GCW show, and he's going to have his own separate performance, at 11 o'clock. And everybody's so excited, like, yeah, I might as well just do the both, because it's 2 separate events. So you have to buy tickets for both. A lot of people are going to be like, yeah, that's cool, man. That's so cool. Then everybody's like, who is Jeff Hardy going to wrestle? So then GCW puts out a tweet saying, GCW, Jeff Hardy will not be wrestling on the GCW show. He was making a personal appearance. I was like, bro, they let that shit sit out there for hours knowing that Jeff was not going to wrestle. Had people thinking Jeff was going to wrestle. Somebody probably bought a ticket because they thought Jeff was wrestling. And that's not going to happen. That is some of the most carny shit in the world. And then you have Brett Lauderdale, who is the CEO of Game Changer Wrestling, saying, oh, we never said he was going to wrestle. Bitch, what did you think everybody was going to think when you posted a picture of Jeff Hardy coming to GCW? What did you think they was going to think? If you posted a random picture of Jeff Hardy will be at GCW and everybody's like, hell yeah, they're pitching matches that they want to see, Jeff Hardy versus Mike Bailey or Leo Rush and all this kind of stuff, and this goes on for hours. This stuff goes on, and Lauderdale didn't say anything like, oh, you know what, before anybody gets too excited, it's just a personal appearance, he's not going to wrestle. Then they promoted his show that was going to be happening afterwards, and I was like, oh my goodness. And because I've never seen Jeff Hardy live either, he's like one of the few wrestlers I've never seen live. And I was like, wow, that's going to be cool because I'm going to be there anyway. I'm like, wow, this is dope. Turns out he's not wrestling. And they have the audacity to say, well, we never said he was going to wrestle. You sons of a carny motherfucker. You carny motherfuckers, man. What a carny dude, man. Yeah, what a carny dude, man. He tried to get over on everybody. I don't think it might not have been up too long though, but it was up for several hours. Like, because it was a completely different tweet. But yeah, Jeff wouldn't have been the Jeff of like 2000, but it still would have been cool to see Jeff Hardy, considering I never saw him before, in person. Like, it's still going to be cool to see him in person and not know what he's going to do on the show or whatever. But you had people all jazzed up. You should have told them that, that these people he was not going to wrestle. Like, why let people think that? He got GCW trending, that's for sure. And then Jeff Hardy started to trend because people were very upset with GCW for basically promoting Jeff Hardy, and Jeff's not going to wrestle. That's very bizarre. I don't know why they did that. That was so dumb. That was so dumb on their part, man. Thankfully, I wasn't like one of those idiots that went out and bought a ticket or something like that, thinking Jeff was gonna show up and wrestle. You know, I feel I feel like they should offer refunds to people who bought tickets thinking that Jeff was gonna wrestle. I definitely think you should give people refunds if they thought Jeff was gonna wrestle and they bought a ticket. You know. Well, technically, they don't have nosebleeds and Harpos. They have standing room only. So you either got a balcony seat, which is basically over the ring. Sometimes the wrestlers go up there and wrestle. Floor seats, which is my favorite thing, is you get the floor seat where you're 2 or 3 rows away from the ring. And then there's standing room only, which is like behind a barricade. It's still elevated, but you have to stand up. You don't have a chair. And you basically bunched at the barricade. And those are usually the drunk idiots. They pay like $25 to get in or whatever. It's not a big deal. But I mean, Jeff just being in the building, even if he's just gonna like sign autographs or something like that, it could still be fun. But damn, tell people he's not wrestling before you do that. You know, like don't tell people like Jeff Hardy's gonna be in the building. And then you're like, yeah, Jeff, yeah. And then it turns out he's not gonna. He won't be there to wrestle. All right, so here's the list. I finally found it. This is from Vic Newman at Vic Newman 1. A list of wrestlers who have not been on AEW television in a long period of time. All right, I love the Hardy Boys. I love the Hardy Boys up until I think they were in TNA. And they did some good stuff in TNA, like the Broken Matt Hardy stuff, but afterwards, oof, it gets kind of spotty. I like their stuff against the Bar. That was very good in WWE. But I think near the tail end of their WWE run, it fell off a cliff. And I don't even want to count the Hardys in AEW because I don't think it's fair. You know, like they're definitely a shell of themselves now, both of them. All right. So here's a list of wrestlers that are signed to AEW and the last time that they appeared. Abaddon. Her last appearance was Rampage, October 27th, 2021. She hasn't been on AEW TV in almost 2 years. Anthony Ogogo, he was last on Dynamite, June the 4th, 2021. Damn, it has been 2 years. It's been over 2 years. Billy Stark's Battle of the Belts, she was on TV in April of 2023. Boulder, I have no idea who the hell is Boulder. Who is this guy? Dynamite, July the 6th, 2022. Bronson, I don't know who that is either. Dynamite, July 6th, 2022. Brandon Cutler hasn't been on TV since Dynamite, April 12th, 2023. I could have swore I saw that asshole somewhere before. Is this the last time they worked a match? Oh, okay, yeah, it's the last time he worked a match because Cutler's been on TV since then. Abaddon is the fat zombie chick. Well, she was fat. She's not fat anymore. Christopher Daniels, he has not wrestled a match on AEW television since he wrestled on Rampage, April 19th, 2023. Cole Carter has not wrestled on AEW television since Dynamite, December 14th, 2022. Cole Carter, that's 2 Dimes, right? Yeah, it's the list of talent that are signed that are not on TV. That's 2 Dimes, right? Cole Carter. Colt Cabana has not worked on AEW since Dynamite, November the 2nd, 2022. Danhausen has not been on AEW television since Revolution, March the 5th, 2023. I think he got injured. Dante Martin has not been on AEW TV since Dynamite, March 22nd, 2023. I think he destroyed his ankle around that time. So it makes sense why he hasn't been on TV. He's been injured. Diamante, I forgot she existed. She hasn't wrestled on AEW television since Rampage, September 21st, 2022. Griff Garrison has not been on AEW television since he was on Rampage, October the 7th, 2022. Griff Garrison. Well, I'll be damned. I'll be damned. Kiera Hogan has not been on AEW television since she worked Rampage April the 19th, 2023. I don't know if she's injured or not. Is she injured? Um, good question. I like Kiera Hogan. She's very underutilized in AEW. Kyle O'Reilly, he's been injured, so we know that. He hasn't been on AEW TV since Dynamite June 8th, 2022. Lance Archer, who they showed clips of on Dynamite, so he's been wrestling. So he's not injured, but he hasn't wrestled on AEW TV since Rampage, February 22nd, 2023. Lee Johnson, who I forgot existed, he hasn't been on AEW TV since Full Gear, November 19th, 2022. What the hell was he doing at Full Gear? Was he in a Battle Royal or something? Layla Gray, ooh, the sweet, sexy Layla Gray. She ain't been on AEW television since Rampage, March 22nd, 2023. That baby girl needs to go to NXT. Go to NXT, Layla Gray. Legit Layla Hirsch, who I know has wrestled on Ring of Honor. She hasn't been on AEW TV since Dynamite, March 23rd, 2022. Madison Rain, who I think is also injured, hasn't been on TV since Dynamite, December the 7th, 2022. She was also hired as a coach. So, I don't know. Mark Davis. Sounds familiar, but I don't. Mark Davis. Who is Mark Davis? He ain't been on TV since Rampage, April the 12th, 2023. Mark Quinn, the other member of Private Party, he's been injured, so he hasn't been on AEW TV since November the 30th, 2022, when he was on Rampage. Bum-ass Matt Taven has not graced us with his appearance since Rampage, March 22nd, 2023. Praise God for that. Michael Shitsuzawa hasn't been on AEW television since Dynamite, April the 12th, 2023. Bum-ass Mike Bennett has not wrestled on AEW television since March 22nd, 2023 on Rampage. Nick Camarado, who I seen on Ring of Honor the one time I did watch it, he hasn't wrestled on AEW television since Full Gear, November 19th, 2022. Ortiz, who I think is injured. Isn't he? Dynamite, March the 1st, 2023. Pac, until this absolute past Dynamite, he had not been on Dynamite since January 11th, 2023. But you can draw a line through that because he popped up this week. Paige Van Zant has not wrestled on AEW television since Double or Nothing, May 29th, 2022, which was her only match, and I think she's done for. I think she's done. I think Paige Van Zant is not coming back. I don't think she's coming back. Oh, Mark Davis is from Aussie Open. Okay, he's the other guy from Aussie Open. All right. Layla Gray is hot. She does look a little bit like Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks is kind of cute too, man. I like Sasha Banks. That girl is beautiful. Parker Boudreaux, we're not sure if he's fired or not. Is Parker Boudreaux fired? We don't know, but he ain't been on AEW television since March the 3rd, 2023, when he was on Rampage. Paul White, well, it's the big show. Praise God, he hasn't graced us with his presence since 2021, December the 5th, when he was on All Out. And he had no business being there. I can tell you that much. Penelope Ford, that's a name I haven't said in a long time. Is she injured? Pregnant? I don't know. She ain't been on TV since Dynamite, February 15th, 2023. Peter Avalon, who doesn't even work there anymore, so you can draw a line through him. Rebel, she hasn't wrestled a match since Dynamite, November the 10th, 2021. Rebel is actually older than I thought she was. Like, I forgot she was in Impact all those years. Like, she's in her 40s. Like, she's hot, but she's in her 40s. And I'm not really expecting Rebel to wrestle anymore, if we're being honest. But she hasn't even been on TV. She hasn't even been used recently. So that's interesting. Why hasn't she been used? The gorgeous Red Velvet. I forgot all about her. I remember she used to be on TV all the time. We used to see Red Velvet all the time. This is the first time I even heard her name in forever. But she hasn't wrestled since February the 1st, 2023 on Dynamite. I guess she's injured. Is she injured? Didn't who get cut by Miria? I'm not even sure who Miria is. Miro? I guess you were saying. I'm not sure. Rebel is pretty old. I didn't know that. Red Velvet has improved quite a bit. She was terrible when she first started, but she's improving. Riho has not wrestled since she was on Dynamite April the 12th, 2023. Santana, I know he's been injured. June 29th, 2022, he was on Dynamite. Satnam Singh, I don't remember him ever having a match, but apparently he wrestled on Rampage April the 12th, 2023. Serena Deeb, who is fantastic and is a good pro wrestler, even though she got, negative charisma. She's very Dean Malenko. She works as that professor character. She hasn't wrestled since October the 5th, 2022, when she was on Dynamite. Wow, that's crazy. Sean Dean has not wrestled. I know he works in the office, but he last worked April the 7th, 2023 on Rampage. Sonny Kiss, wow. Forgot. I know Sonny Kiss has been working in Ring of Honor because I saw clips. But he's last worked on Rampage August the 10th, 2022. Tainara Conti Melo Guevara has not wrestled since January 11th, 2023 on Rampage. She's pregnant, so that's why she's not there. The Bunny has not wrestled since Dynamite February the 8th, 2023. Thunder Rosa has been injured and pretty much damn near dead since Battle of the Belts 2, August the 5th, 2022. Yuka Sakazaki, Los Magical Girl, Rampage, May the 4th, 2022. And Zach Clayton, I don't know who that is, hasn't wrestled since Rampage, August 17th, 2022. Didn't Santana have like a neck injury or something like that, or a separated shoulder? He had some kind of injury because he had to pull out of when Jonathan Gresham had his Terminus shows. He had to pull out of it because he got injured. I thought it was the same injury. So let me look up Santana, because I'm pretty sure he was injured when he disappeared from AEW TV. Like I'm pretty sure it was a Terminus show that he had to pull out of. I heard that Conan is trying to get him and Ortiz back to being friends again. It don't look like it's going to work out too well. I love those guys together, but I really like Santana. Santana is dope. I'm a big fan of Santana. So it's unfortunate. Let's see. Terminus is dead. Yeah. I knew that already. That's not the point. That's not what I wanted to know. I wanted to know if Santana got injured because he was working the main event of that show, if I remember correctly. Oh no, he worked the show. Okay, so it was the second Terminus show because Terminus only did like 2 or 3 shows and then they closed up. Okay, so I guess he might still be around. Where the hell is he? He wasting his life then. That kid is good. He's got talent. He's got charisma. He can talk. He's got fire. He's believable. I mean, Santana's he got it. He's very good. He's very good. He should be able to walk on to like a wrestling show, like an NXT. Even though I think he might be a little too seasoned for NXT, he could walk onto an NXT or something like that and really be good. I really like this guy. WG Phil says, is there a reason why Pride and Powerful stopped being friends? I think they had some kind of butted heads with the creative, and then it just kind of got personal after that. Because I think he said something to the effect of he was not happy with the way they were being treated, and Ortiz was cool with it, and it got to them butting heads about it, and they just had to go their own way. But I think a reunion between the two of them could be huge. And the tag team division at AEW really needs it, because those two guys, they're cool together. I don't really like Ortiz that much, but they're great together. And I'm a big fan of the stuff they were doing in Impact. They were really good. They were so good in Impact, man. I just swore up and down they were going to do great things in AEW. Nope. Wasn't, it didn't work out. Yeah, it didn't work out. Yeah, Conan's been talking a lot about it, why they're not friends anymore and how he's trying to get them to become friends again and get them to work together and all this kind of stuff, and it ain't working. I think Santana's just done. And since they don't seem to cut people in in AEW, he's just been chilling, I guess. He hasn't even been taking singles booking. That's why I thought he was injured, because I'm like, he's not even working like House of Glory or anything like that, even in the New York area. He's not taking like any bookings, it doesn't seem like. So maybe there's something else. Maybe there's something more to it. Maybe he can go back to Impact as a solo act. That could kick ass for sure. I'm glad we're all in agreement that we like Santana. I think he's very underrated, incredibly underrated talent. Seemed like a really genuine dude too. I like to make fun of Eddie Kingston, but I do like the fact that Eddie Kingston is very genuine. A guy like Santana should probably go back to Impact, or make the jump and go to WWE. But I don't think that he'd probably handle the scripts very well. So maybe going back to Impact, he might be able to get a solo run. Poor John Morrison. The guy has all the physical tools and charisma to be a top guy, and he's just never going to get over the hump. It's never going to happen for him. Now he's like 40, so it's never going to happen. It's a shame too, because he's so good. All right, let's talk about Seth Rollins and his comments about NXT. I know that Millennial Smart, he said some negative stuff about it. I didn't watch his whole video because I was like in meetings all morning. So I had to go look for myself to see what he said. And here's what he said about NXT. He says, "It was very cool for me to go back and have that moment, that match with Braun Breaker. He said, one of the things I talk about is helping the younger talent and pushing the industry forward. The opportunity was presented for me to go down to NXT, and I haven't wrestled on a show in over 10 years. Obviously, it moved from Full Sail to the Performance Center, and the look, feel, and vibe was totally different. And it had gone through so many different iterations over the years, but it's still NXT. I cut a little promo after the show and didn't really dawn on me that it would feel sentimental until after I got out there and I felt the audience and I felt the connection. I hadn't wrestled in front of a crowd that small and intimate in a very long time." I do like that. That was like a small, intimate show, basically like an indie show. He said, "There's something special about wrestling in front of an intimate crowd like that in a small space. You'll see big bands do that, skip that part. There is something about that where you get a different experience as opposed to doing it in an arena or a stadium. It's a lot more personal." Okay, so he says Braun is a hell of an opponent. Really happy to get down there and get in the ring with him, chit chat with other guys and girls. Skip some of that. I was happy to see that we were going through a period with NXT where there was a lot of complacency and people talking about, I'd rather stay in NXT. I don't want to go to the main roster. That always rubbed me the wrong way. When I went down there this past time, I felt a very different energy, and I felt people were excited to come to the main roster and take their careers to the next level. That got me hyped. That seemed to be the controversial comment here, is that he was upset about people saying that they would rather stay in NXT. Well, how was that controversial? That's a pretty damn good point. I was mad about people saying they didn't want to stay in NXT. I didn't like that. Look, NXT had become a security blanket for like the Garganos and the Tommaso Ciampas. Yeah, these kinds of guys, man, where they were like, bruh, I'd rather stay in NXT. I'm like, get out of there. It's for kids. Get out. It's like a bunch of people, like, you go to like the ball house or whatever, and you jump in the balls, and here's a 40-year-old guy jumping in the balls, and the kids are just watching. Like, when is it my turn? That's what NXT felt like when you had the same fucking guys on top for like months and months and months and months, and none of these people are new. Like, it's cool when Braun Breaker's on top for a year or two, because, you know, the guy has almost no experience, and we're seeing him grow right in front of our eyes. Completely different when I've been watching you since Ring of Honor, and now you're still hanging around in NXT. Man, you like the 30-year-old guy who never got out of high school. You like Al Bundy at this point, you know? You still wearing your Polk High jersey? What's wrong with you? Get out of NXT, man. It's time to go, bro. All these Kyle O'Reillys and come on, man. You gotta get out of here. You gotta clean house. You gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta move on. You know, that shit pissed me off. I couldn't stand it. I was glad when they busted it up and blew it up. That was great. That was the best decision Vince made in a long time. Was all those guys who didn't want to come to the main roster. He blew that shit up. He threw a bomb in there and smoked all the motherfuckers out. So good. Great. Yes, it took a hit on quality. It took a hit a little bit on creative, but so many of those guys have over 10 years of experience. Tommaso Ciampa was in Ring of Honor years ago when he had hair. You know, some of those dudes were like 10, 15-year vets. Like Kyle O'Reilly has been in Ring of Honor for years. Years. Like, no way. I understand you want to go down there, get used to the WWE style and all this kind of stuff, and then you move on. But now it's like, what are you thinking? And here's the weird thing. Now you have indie wrestlers acting like they're too good for NXT. So like Jordan Oliver, he actually, because, you know, Nick Wayne was his tag team partner. You guys might not know that. But Nick Wayne was his tag team partner. They were called the East West Express. And I think they were the GCW tag team champions for a while. I don't keep up with that kind of thing. And he said that he would sign a WWE contract, but only if it involved him not going to NXT. I'm like, dude, he even said it himself, he's only 23. I'm like, dude, you're a fucking kid. You know, like, I know you was like under MLW contract, but you're a child. What the fuck do you mean that you don't want to go to NXT? You need to be in NXT. You know, like, what is wrong with you? But he also just likes being an indie wrestler, so it is what it is. And he's not thinking. He's a young kid. He's not thinking too much about it right now. But I love the Seth Rollins said here. This was fantastic. The idea that these guys were basically just pitching a tent in NXT and taking up space, and that's when it became a warehouse because you couldn't actually use anybody because they were too busy bringing people in from the main roster and signing people who had 10 years of experience already. You know? So it seemed weird to me. Let's see. WG Phil says, Mill explained that he's coming out of nativity. Seth was foolproof, considered to the other call-ups who didn't have the amount of safety net, although that should apply to the black and gold, not to 2.0. I think that there was a lot of people who had some political power when they came from NXT. Nakamura won the Royal Rumble his first year on the roster. So did Asuka. You know, there's a lot of people who came out of NXT with some real smoke. Now, they may have petered out later, but they came out of NXT with some real smoke. The Shield, they wanted Roman to get over. You know, the other two was just kind of like tag-alongs. Like, they really wanted Roman to make it. But I don't know, because Seth Rollins always had that attitude issue, and yeah, Triple H kind of protecting him a little bit. But I think that might be what he's talking about, is how Triple H kind of babied Seth Rollins a little in those early days, especially since Terry Taylor wanted to fire him. So I can see that, but at the same time, Triple H was the guy on the main roster too. Look how he babied Kevin Owens all that time. You know, and Triple H was doing that shit on the main roster. He did it to Randy Orton. You know, like, he was doing that shit to people on the main roster too. So it's like Triple H could get you in the position, but you have to actually, make it. The difference between Triple H and Vince is that you had to have a personality in order for Vince to connect with you. And if you could connect with him through personality, he thinks you could connect with the audience. The Triple H is looking at it through work ethic and, you know, your experience and all that kind of stuff. And Vince didn't give a fuck about that. He didn't care if you was like the biggest star in Japan. You're not connecting with my audience. He don't give a shit about the rest of that stuff. You know, he didn't give a fuck about that. So, and a lot of these guys were undersized. I mean, that was a thing, you know. But Seth being, I guess, protected in terms of the Shield, yes and no, because Seth lost a lot after he left the Shield. You know, I remember his first match with Roman was on a Raw. He got pinned like clean. You know, like he got pinned clean in the middle of the ring. Wrestling Roman on Raw. That was like right not too long after he turned heel, actually. So he did a lot of jobs when he was, you know, the architect and all that kind of stuff. He did a lot of jobs. He did a lot of jobs as Mr. Money in the Bank and all that stuff too. But he worked through it. You know, sometimes those guys, they work through it. Now, I would think some of the bigger issues would be the people who had drastic gimmick changes from main roster to from NXT to main roster. A guy like a Baron Corbin who wasn't allowed to do his gimmick for a long time. He was brought up. I think they let him be the lone wolf for a little while. And then they shaved his head, made him dress like an Applebee's waiter, and that's what he was doing for 2 fucking years. And then from there, he was Happy Corbin for 2 goddamn years. You know, so I see why certain people would have a problem with going to the main roster and, you know, getting tweaked or whatever, because you got like Bearcat Keith Lee or Karrion Kross with the helmet and all this kind of stuff. So I could see it, you know. I could see why you would have a problem. You know, Toni Storm taking off TV for weeks so she could lose weight. Like she's, you know, a big fat girl when she's just, you know, thick in the thighs and hips. I get it. There's a lot of people who probably should have made it, but they didn't because WWE was either slow dragging them, like a Bobby Roode or something like that, or had pigeonholed them into one spot. But that was no reason to just hang out in NXT. And even if you say that Seth Rollins was babied by Triple H, he still took the risk and went to the main roster. The Shield was not a bulletproof gimmick. Again, the Shield was affected by CM Punk snapping and quitting. Now, they were going to be something completely different, you know, but it was all the CM Punk drama that changed what they were supposed to be doing. So they were brought in to work with Punk and all this kind of stuff, and then all that fell apart. You know, that didn't last very long. They ended up having to make it on their own, and then they got super over as a trio, unattached from CM Punk, and they got to work with like John Cena and stuff like that. But a lot of people did. Again, Nakamura got to pin John Cena and Randy Orton in like back-to-back weeks and won the Royal Rumble in his first year. Like, there's a lot of people who were like, I don't want to leave NXT because they just knew they were too small and they weren't going to be taken seriously. And that's the nature of the beast. You know, Triple H didn't care about how small they were, but the rest of the world did. The rest of the world did. JS says, I agree with Millennial Smart because Seth has always had Triple H behind him and he stayed in the main event scene ever since then. So maybe the NXT guys don't want to leave because they'll get less opportunities. I think they all definitely progressively get less opportunities, as WWE is always the kind of place where they got their guys. That's just unfortunate, but that's how it is. Is when they got John Cena, no matter how over you get, you ain't displacing John Cena. So Christian, a guy like him, gets super over in 2005, 2006, and they say, well, yeah, Christian is over. That's nice, but we're not displacing John Cena for Christian. That's not going to happen. And that just means you have to leave. You know, I would imagine that the issue would be the drastic change of your gimmick from something that you was doing that you were successful with to something that uh, that you were not that want to be successful with, or being hampered with something that you don't know how to make it work, like a Bearcat Keith Lee. If I was stuck in NXT and I was basically spinning my wheels, and they said, "Hey, you want to go up to the main roster?" That would be the thing I would think of: is are they going to put me in some kind of stupid suit? They're going to give me some kind of stupid character? Because for every Bearcat Keith Lee, there's an Alexa Bliss, somebody who wasn't doing shit in NXT. They get called up to the main roster, and then Vince sees something about them, and voila, they're on TV all the time. Like somebody like Elias. Elias was in NXT doing nothing, and then Vince saw Elias, saw that he could play the guitar. He was pretty good with his promos. Featured him, and Elias ended up getting over big, got over much bigger in NXT than most of the other talent who came out of NXT were like NXT champions and stuff. Like he literally looked for intangibles outside of the ring, and that actually changes so much. And that's why I wasn't too concerned about LA Knight outside of his age, because he had the intangibles that Vince likes. And I think that he would have ended up making it anyway. He probably would have had to be Max Dupree for a little while until he outgrew the gimmick and showed he had a pretty good attitude or whatever. But I wasn't too concerned about him. And you can actually go in the archives and look and listen to me as people were talking about Max Dupree. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I figured it's Baby's first gimmick. He's going to come in as Max Dupree, but eventually he's going to work out of it, because it happens all the time. Vince brings you in with one vision, and then as you perform and he learns more about you, you gravitate towards something else. So it doesn't matter what he gives you initially, because he can give you the world's best gimmick initially, but if you don't get over, then you go to the bottom. But if you do get over with a stupid gimmick, then you get the opportunity to grow that gimmick. You get the opportunity to change it a little bit. And nobody liked the idea of Sami Zayn turning heel. Remember, people used to hate Sami Zayn as a heel. Like, why is he a heel? He's such a natural babyface. And then he spent like 3 years as a heel and got more over as a heel than he had ever been as a babyface. So then when he eventually became a babyface, he became one of the biggest babyfaces in the goddamn company. It's almost like the old man knows what he's doing sometimes. Like, he is senile a little bit, Sometimes he has something staring him right in the face and he doesn't know what to do with it. Like a Tony Storm, for instance, or a Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode was just ready. Why did you need to fiddle fuck with Bobby Roode? I have no idea. But sometimes he's trying to dig through what Triple H has brought in to find the diamonds. People who didn't get a run in. Bianca Belair is just number one on that list. She was treated like a soccer ball in NXT. She gets vignettes and everything built up to her being on the main roster. She gets the main event WrestleMania. You never know what the hell is going to happen. So once you sign that NXT deal, it should be accepted or even expected that you're going to eventually get called up to the main roster. And yes, it might be a difference in between what you're doing, but who's to say it's going to be worse? It might not necessarily be worse. It might be better than what you were doing before. And we don't know that. Yeah, Rick Boogs is another good example. Rick Boogs did that Queen thing. He did the screams and stuff like that on NXT, but he wasn't featured. They didn't care that Rick Boogs could do all of that stuff or that he was jacked or whatever. He had made very few appearances on NXT. Vince saw this guy. He's jacked. He's athletic. He's charismatic. He's doing like the Rock scream. Everything has been working out. And then Vince put him on TV. Like, just give him the opportunity. Let's see what happens. A guy like Riddick Moss, give him the opportunity. Let's see what happens. Yeah, like Vegeta 1192, like Bo Dallas. They pushed Bo Dallas on NXT, for Christ's sake. Come on. It's not like it was like the sacred space or anything like that. Bo Dallas. Be serious about this. JS says it's funny that present wrestlers that were once complaining about the legends are now complaining about the new wrestlers. There's not too many legends around for them to complain about anymore. You know, it's very strange. It says Sammy didn't get over on his own as a babyface. Without the bloodline, it never would have happened. Yes, but he ended up being far better at cutting promos through his heel work. You know, he made the bloodline thing work. Because if he wasn't good on promos, he wouldn't have got over. And it wouldn't have even worked with him being in it. Again, when he was a conspiracy theorist, he was actually pretty cool. You know, he was actually pretty good then too. So he was actually a strong heel before he joined the bloodline. But the bloodline just put a spotlight on him. It gave him a far more opportunity than him being a babyface would have. You know, because he was a pretty bland babyface. But as a heel, he got to do a lot of different things. And he got to have more fun. He got to talk more. And this is actually when he started slowing down physically. You know, so it came at just the right time for him. Kevin Abreu says the Butch character got over little by little, but Triple H wanted to be serious wrestler. I don't get it. I don't get it. Pete Dunne was never going to work on the main roster. It just wasn't going to work. Nobody's going to take him seriously. He's a midget. The bruiser weight. He's a midget weight. Dwarf weight. Gnome weight. Yeah, Damian Priest is another good one. See, Damian Priest at least was the North American champion, and then they had him lose the belt to, I think, skinny ass Leon Ruff. Or what? No, he lost it to Gargano, I think. And then it was Vince who paired him up with Bad Bunny and all this kind of stuff, and made the Bad Bunny thing happen. And that's why you have, you know, what we got right now with Damian Priest. You know, people knowing who he is because of the Bad Bunny stuff. So there's a lot of opportunities that can happen. You just have to be able to take the risk. And there are so many people who are scared of risk in their careers. It's like, I get it. It could always turn out worse than what you got right now. But for Christ's sake, bro, if you've been stuck in the same place for years and years and years, don't get complacent. And then don't get mad when somebody says that your complacency pisses them off. Because it would piss off anybody who is ambitious that you're just happy to be stuck in the same place for years and years. And, you know, and then you're dissing them too. I don't want to go to the main roster. Why not? This is where I am, motherfucker. I like being on the main roster, goddammit. Let's see. As big, no, he's settled in the mid card now. What are we talking about? He's talking about Sami Zayn still. Sammy versus Jeff versus AJ Styles ladder match. The ending was genius. Remember that. Is that where they handcuffed Jeff's earring to the ladder? If I remember correctly, that was over the top. Matt Riddle, yeah, I think Vince saw a desire to turn Matt Riddle into somebody the kids could relate to and have fun with, even though Matt Riddle is in his late 30s. But he was far more over under Vince than he is now, Matt Riddle. I don't know what his upside would have been, but he was far more over as a member of RK Bro and doing silly stuff with Randy Orton. I don't think Triple H would have even done that. You know, I think that he really kind of started digging into the comedic part in NXT though. So maybe. Smooth Realism says Cody is another one who got over due to circumstances versus getting over because he's cool. Torn Peck and people wanting Roman to lose set that up. Oh yeah, Liv Morgan's a really good one. Because she people barely even remember she was in NXT. Lacey Evans is another one. Like sometimes you have somebody like Charlotte and it's a slam dunk, you know. But it depends a lot on your skill set. You know, if you're a charisma wrestler and you're not a grappling wrestler, you're probably not going to do very well under Triple H. Like Lacey Evans, she's not really a good athlete. She's got a good personality and she's got charisma. And she knows how to get people to react to her. She studied that part and she works that part very well. But she doesn't get used on TV. Why? Because she's not a great wrestler. And then that's all Triple H cares about. So she doesn't get used. Or if she does get used, she gets beaten 2 minutes. It's dumb. Like, you don't become a real big star unless Triple H and Vince agree. So that's Charlotte. That's Sasha. That's Roman. Seth. If you can get both of them to agree that you're really good, then you're golden. But if it's one or the other, I mean, come on. You're in trouble. You may be the greatest of all time in NXT. Go up to the main roster with I'm going to wrestle you to death. And Vince is like, this shit's boring. You're a boring personality. You got nothing to say. You got nothing going on. Here, just go job out. Here, just go job out. But I understand it, though. It's the vanilla and chocolate. So I understand why people would get upset about Seth Rollins, but he got lucky. He got a cool gimmick coming right out of NXT. But other people have too. Some people came out of NXT untouched and still barely got over. That would be Shinsuke Nakamura right there. He barely got touched. He barely did anything to Nakamura. They didn't change his theme music. They didn't change his name. They didn't make him dress differently. I think he was wearing the bodysuits in NXT too, if I remember correctly. But if he did get put in a bodysuit, that was the only thing they did. They didn't change anything about him. They just pushed him as an upper mid card guy. Aleister Black, they didn't change that much about him either. They just didn't know where to slot him on the roster. They didn't change that much about him. They didn't change that much about Bobby Roode. But it's easy to point out some of the people who had the drastic change where you're like, man, what the hell was that? This guy was doing this in NXT. He goes up to the main roster, Adam Rose or somebody like that, But most of the people aren't really doing that much different. It's just connecting on a different level, Yeah, they added the rap music when he turned heel. They added the rap part to his gimmick. I wish Aleister Black was still around too. I really do. I wish that Vince wouldn't have fired him. That was dumb. And I still don't understand why he chose to fire the people that he did. Because firing Aleister Black, Andrade, and Swerve was a huge mistake. Those were 3 big mistakes. And Samoa Joe. Those were like the 4 big mistakes. I can even understand why he fired Keith Lee now. Keith Lee, I'm looking at him saying like, yeah, I can see why Vince fired him. I could just tell, I could tell why he fired, Mia Yim. I could see it, but why he fired Aleister Black, no idea. Why he chose to fire Swerve, no idea. Why he fired Samoa Joe, no idea. But I think he was looking at age. I think, and same thing with Taya. I just think that Aleister Black had hit that age thing where he was like over the age of 30, and they were like, look, we're not sure what to do with him. He's been around for a long time. Even though he had only been around for 2 or 3 years at that point, he was already like 30, 32 or 33 or something like that. And it was just kind of like, he's old, forget it. And that's the same thing that happened with LA Knight. It was like, basically, he's old, forget it. Unfortunate, but it didn't stop them from pushing Riddle, and it didn't stop them from pushing Damian Priest. But those 2 guys were older. Bianca Belair was over the age of 30 when she came to WWE too, if I remember correctly. When she got to the main roster, I mean, she was like, I think 30 on the nose, actually. So it was like they might have been looking at age, they might have been looking at attitude, they might have been looking at creative. We don't know what to do with these people. But yeah, they definitely fired some of these people and it seemingly didn't make any sense. And you wish some of those people were still around. And I'm not going to say all of them. I gave you the 5: Samoa Joe, Swerve, Aleister Black. Those 3 for sure they should have kept. Keith Lee is probably on that list. Chelsea Green has been a really good rehire. She kept getting injured, so that's why they fired her. They was like, look, what can we get from this girl? There's nothing to be had. But over time, I think she's really trying to prove herself. But a lot of the firings is seemingly random, out of nowhere, and most of these people are not really disproven vets anyway. It's just kind of like, but I think Andrade quit. Yeah, he wanted out. Oh yeah, they fired Miro. I think he wanted out too, though. Yeah, I think he wanted out too. Because when they didn't push Rusev Day, he was like, yeah, we're out of here. So there's quite a few people where they was like, it was age, language, different shit. They just wanted to blow up NXT, so they started getting rid of people. So, and I get it, because a lot of those people were not necessary. They really weren't. But so I understand, but I still think that they were getting complacent, and we was kind of done with that. I want to see Natalya fired in 2020, 2019. That would have been great. If Natalya would have been released in like 2018 or 2019 and made her return, I wouldn't be as mad. The fact that she has been employed gainfully since like 2006 just infuriates me. I don't understand it. Natalya is a legend. My goodness. Look how far we've fallen. Look at what we're doing. Think of the children. Why would you say such things? Please think of the children. Yeah, you definitely. Well, you could fire most of the people Triple H rehired and it wouldn't make a difference. Because they haven't done shit. They ain't done shit. And since he's running creative, you would think that he would be the one that would say, hey, look, I went through all the trouble of, bringing these people back. Can we at the very least do something with these people or try? Like, you have a tag team division. If you don't know what else to do with them, put them in a tag team. That was always a Vince move. Hey, I like this guy, but all of our singles titles are pretty sewn up right now. Put them in a tag team. Would have been nice, but they don't do that anymore. They only do it to they only do it to Bobby Roode now. He gets slammed into tag teams. This seems kind of silly, but Triple H's rehires, they eventually have to make an impact eventually, don't they? You would think. I think the creative team hasn't changed from what I understand. It's some of the same people: Michael Hayes, Bruce, Road Dogg. You probably have some no-name revolving door head writer. I think that's probably what needs to change a little bit. Instead of the people at the top, it probably needs to be some of those mid managers. A guy like Michael Hayes, he's been there forever. It might be time for somebody new. It might be time for somebody new outside of Bruce. Who knows? But just saying. Just saying. I think that's when WWE will actually become the Triple H show. Like, it's the Triple H show right now because he gets to pick the talent. But a lot of those people who are still in position, as far as I know, are Vince people. They were there when Vince was there. They're just working under Triple H's direction now. So when Triple H gets to pick the administration, I think things will change a lot. It's going to hire a lot. I could see them probably getting rid of writers when Vince dies. They're probably going to get rid of writers completely at that point. Probably won't need them unless the network wants them to have writers. When Vince dies, do you think he gets celebrated or he's gonna get celebrated? You know, he's going to be celebrated when he dies. WWE will celebrate him. The rest of the media is going to try to destroy him. But they're going to have like a memorial show or something like that. I don't think they're going to go full AAA where they're going to have like flowers and all that kind of stuff with Linda sitting in the crowd and them taking pictures. I don't think it's going to go that far. They may do like a memorial show. They may do a couple of memorial shows. They should do a memorial pay-per-view when Vince dies. Like the Vince McMahon Memorial Cup or something like that. And somebody he would completely hate wins the cup. Like Johnny Gargano. You know, like somebody like that. He's like, no! But yeah, I don't see them burying him. You know, Vince was never convicted of anything. You know, he's no different than any other sort of rich pervert. You know, there's a lot of those guys. There's so many of them. If you wanted to kill a guy who'd been a rich pervert, there wouldn't be any of them left. All the big guys win. Like, finally. The way things should be. Who do you think Tripp should be his Bruce and Michael? I think The Miz should get a management job because he's good with character. I think once Vince is gone, The Miz is going to be gone too. I don't think Triple H likes The Miz, if we're being honest. I think that's pretty clear. I don't think he likes people like The Miz either. So I think he's probably going to elbow quite a few more people out of the way. You know, like we already see that some of the lower level people he chooses not to use. I could see that. But if Vince wasn't there at all, like Vince was completely and totally retired or Vince was dead, oh boy. I could see Triple H just going through with a hatchet and just saying, we don't need this motherfucker, don't need this motherfucker. And it might be for the best. That's the only way you really can change things. You know? You can't really change things by moving pieces one at a time. You gotta make a huge thing. Well, they're building DIY. So the Miz winning was a storyline thing. It wasn't done because the Miz has worked for it. It's because he wants the Miz to get over Bronson Reed, and he wants the Miz to get over Gargano and Ciampa. That's what Triple H is thinking about. How to get their guys over. And that's it. He's probably not gonna consider too much beyond that. You know, the Miz was a Vince guy. And you could tell, you know, I'm surprised Edge is still around because Edge and Triple H have never been on the same page. I'm surprised they're still working together, but that was weird, you know. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, it's going to be rough when the old man is not there anymore at all. Because then that's when the chickens are going to be, you know, there ain't going to be no coop. It's going to be bad at that point, boy. Damn. It gets bad now, but wait until the old man is gone completely. Oh, shit. That's why I don't understand how these people can say at all that Vince he's still running the show and all this kind of like, man, have you watched these fucking shows? Like Vince would have had like a 15-minute comedy segment on one of these shows at some point, bro. And it'd have been crazy. Like they don't even do comedy segments really. Like that Alpha Academy segment they did on Raw, like the first comedy segment they did in a long time. Like it's a long time. It's been a while. All right, let's close up with Ryback because Ryback has been a very in the news a lot lately. So Ryback went on his show because apparently, so look, I don't like talking about Ryback because I don't want to end up like ringside news where it's like 90% Ryback all the time. But he basically challenged Booker T to a fight. And I think we're late enough in the show right now where YouTube and their almighty demonetization guys or whatever won't get us if we start playing like Ryback's audio of him cussing at Booker T and Mark Henry and all these guys. So last week he went nutso on Ringside News. We might, if we got a little bit of time, we might do that too. But I want to talk about Ryback's basically challenging Booker T to a fight, which seems like a bad idea.
Fuck Busted Open. Fuck Tommy. Fuck Bubba. Fuck fucking Mark. Fuck all the fucking Marks. Fuck Cornette. Fuck the other guy. Fuck fucking Dutch Mantel. Fuck everybody who doesn't want to have a fucking conversation and talk your goddamn fucking lies and bullshit. I'll call each and every one of you out. And if you want Booker, all those are fighting words. Oh, yeah, these are fighting words too, motherfucker. Let's fucking play real fucking life. You fucking talk to your little fucking boss. Yeah, yes, sir, Mr. McMahon. We get the fucking cage. I don't give a fuck where it is. You want 5 5-minute rounds? 3 5-minute rounds? I don't give a fuck. This is where I'm at. I'm sick of the bullshit, the lies. Does that answer your question, though? Because I got the work I got to do. I got this fucking stalker motherfucking case I'm worried about. That we got to fucking get this guy put in jail. I've got real life fucking shit with my family on the line with shit. I don't need to hear this goddamn fucking bullshit from these fucking guys that are done, man. Fucking be positive about the business. Fucking make a fucking phone call, Booker. Pick up your goddamn fucking phone and you fucking call me like a fucking man. You fucking pussy.
Man. I would like to be sitting in the room when Booker T heard this. He probably was like, what is wrong? I will murder this man. What is wrong with this man? You know? The thing is, Ryback has been talking about for years a conspiracy that WWE and everybody has had against him. They've been trying to take his name. They've been, belittling his social media and all this kind of stuff. Now it's Elon Musk and YouTube, not Elon Musk and Twitter. Everybody's trying to limit his engagement and attack him and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of it just comes across as very conspiratorial, and nobody takes it seriously. So he's been on these rants for a long time, and he keeps trying to get on other people's shows to talk about this stuff, and he keeps talking about this inevitable comeback towards wrestling and all this shit. So apparently him and Booker T had words where, I think Booker T offered him a spot on his show. He could come on the podcast and talk about it. And then Booker T backed out of it and said that he just doesn't think Ryback is a serious person or whatever. And this is what led to, I think part of this rant is that they were supposed to have a conversation on Booker T's podcast. Booker T was like, look, Ryback is nuts. Nobody's going to do business with this guy. He's fucking crazy. I don't want to do anything with him. And that led to him rambling and ranting and stuff. Now, we know he has a long history with Mark Henry. So him going off on Mark Henry they've been beefing for years. So that's not a surprise. And Cornette, because, well, nothing gets you more attention than mentioning this Jim Cornette. That gets you all the attention that you want because he's going to talk about you on the podcast. And that's a very widely heard wrestling podcast. So he wasn't done, though.
That's what you are. Your brother's not. Your brother's a fucking man. Your brother has fucking respect. And it's funny how some of you guys have respect face to face and you don't when you're at your fucking homes on your little fucking podcast, your shit shows. You can't find out if it's a fucking gimmick. Fuck, I'm calling you out. Whatever you want. I don't give a fuck about a pro wrestling match. You want to fucking fight, we can fight. This is where I'm fucking at. You want to fucking show the world? Expose me for your boy Vinny. Expose me for your boy little fucking Tin Man, fucking Triple H. I am here. I'm fucking coming back, and there's not a motherfucker alive who's gonna fucking stop me from accomplishing what I want to do. And that's how I feel, man. And that's it. And that's it. And that's it. You know, man, I think fans knock shell shock. I'm fucking back. And I just got to we're fucking one step away from getting clear.
What is he talking about? His return now. Man, I know Booker T's supposed to be addressing this on his podcast tonight. I don't know if he actually did so, because this rant was about It was today. Like he went nutso today. And then Booker T had his podcast later, I'm sure. I don't know if it actually happened yet. So I don't have Booker T's response. But this guy wants Booker T back in jail because Booker T will actually hurt this man. I'm definitely concerned about Ryback's mental health. Like he's has constant delusions of people putting their boot on his neck and all this kind of stuff. It is really strange. But I really did like his rant on Ringside Wrestling. I mean Ringside News stuff. So we're gonna talk about that because I want to close strong. You know, let's close with Ryback's rant on Steve Carrier of Ringside News. This is from last week on Ryback's live stream.
You saw that meltdown yesterday with that clown on here on how he acts on everything. He's going on his drunken rants and all the misinformation that he put out on me yesterday. Nobody's going to jail. Steve, you don't know what you're talking about, and you are in for a world of hurt when you realize what is coming your way with it. I gave you the blueprint on how you can fix things. You and your bipolar, crazy, drunken, fucking numbskull fucking thought process thought that was the way to go. You are royally fucked, Steve. So good luck in the future. You're going to find out very soon what is in store for you. Zero tolerance, but Steve has a meltdown. So Steve, for 7 years, has been behind putting out hate and this. I'm going to tell you guys something with this. Well, I'll finish my thought first, then we'll go. So Steve, for 7 years or 7, 8, 9, how many ever years that site has been going, putting out all these misleading articles of defamation and slander on me. I post one picture of his mugshot from his drunken arrest. That is public information, by the way. And he has an epic meltdown of just the highest proportions yesterday.
Oh, it was amazing. That guy from Ringside News went absolutely ballistic because Ryback posted his that drunk picture. Oh my God. He did a Twitter Spaces talking about he's going to have Ryback arrested. Ryback doxed him. It was bananas. I don't understand why anybody reads Ringside News. It's like one of the shittiest wrestling websites. The site is almost always perpetually attacked, and it's a terrible site. Like it's literally a shitty site. And the owner or operator or editor or whoever he is constantly having meltdowns on Twitter, going on these drunken rants. It was like last month or something like that he went on a drunken rant about how much he hates trans people or how much he went on a trans rant. Then he went back and deleted all of this stuff. He's basically nuked the site. And then he just basically went back and deleted everything and went back to regularly posting news like, oh, this is normal. Like, what the fuck? Like, this guy is clearly not well. Like, this is a battle of unwell people. Because Ryback is not very well balanced, but he ain't got nothing on this Steve Carrier guy of Ringside News. This guy is mentally fucked. All right? These people are terrible. Ringside News is such a garbage site. Like, I feel terrible anytime somebody uses them as a source or anything.
Like just completely off his rocker. And then you guys saw it in the show. You see the hate and all the lies that he put out yesterday. Now just use some common sense to go, how much has he been doing that? He doesn't care about anything. This is the problem. You're not going to categorize everybody in the media in wrestling. The majority of these dirt sheet people, and this is, I will break this, I will Dr. Phil this to you guys all day long. They have zero respect for the men and women who do this. Not just me, but for the men and women who do this, they have zero respect because they failed. They could not do it. They did not have the mindset, the courage, the physical capabilities. They did not have it to actually go and pursue their dreams. So what they do instead is they then create these fan sites and create all these misleading, hateful articles to try to, they want to get the fame and attention. And what they don't realize is that they have no fucking respect. They're using all the men and women in this game that sacrifice their health and their bodies for everybody else's entertainment. And these motherfuckers, these low-life pieces of shit, guys, who can't do it, that's their mindset when they're doing all of this. And that Steve is the perfect fucking example of what not to be. Now, if these places, all they have to do, you want to know, and you look at it with other sports media and different media and journalists, that you got to give respect to get respect. You don't just fucking put bullshit and expect and slander fucking and hurt people's brands and names and talk shit about them and confuse your goddamn fucking opinions on a thing when all you need to be doing is reporting facts. Leave your goddamn motherfucking opinions, leave your bullshit out of it, report fucking facts.
Now, Ringside News has made a cottage industry of talking about Ryback. They have like 100 Ryback stories a day. So, yeah, him going off on Ringside News is actually not a surprise. They keep farming his live streams and Twitter accounts for more stuff to talk about. And they have fostered a lot of negativity towards Ryback, but he doesn't really help because he is batshit crazy himself.
Those of you that actually learn how to fucking do that are going to rise to the top of the game in a good way. But you stupid motherfuckers keep doing this, and you're shooting yourselves in the foot with it. And you're playing to a fucking portion that you could be playing to so much more. And you want to be fucking around the business. You want to actually be fucking ringside. You fucking booze bleacher bum little bitch. Fucking report the facts. Not what you want to fucking persuade people to be the facts, because you could never fucking do it. You are a drunken fucking loser, and I'm gonna fucking get you right after we're finished with this chase. You fucking watch. It's not gonna be a difficult process legally with everything that we have. You dumb motherfucker. And yesterday you just buried yourself for fucking good. So you just wait and see. Be better. But you have people report the fucking facts. You guys are you are just disgusting pigs. And you guys want to try, you'd have no problem trying to hurt other people with it. But one fucking picture of a real fucking thing that you fucking did, and you have a fucking epic meltdown. You broke in front of the world, you little bitch. You showed everybody how you don't have what it takes to fucking be a professional wrestler, let alone even report the fucking facts. Going to jail. Bitch, we're going to find out who's going to jail. Steve Carrier, you are a goddamn fucking loser. I hope you go get drunk some more today and go fucking just drown your sorrows away in your old poor man's fucking whiskey. You weak, pathetic little fucking lost soul bitch. You just report all your lies. We'll see how long you last. You want to fucking play in the big leagues? I've been through the fucking ringer. I know how to fucking handle this stuff. You, my friend, you can't handle one fucking picture. How's it feel? How's it feel to have somebody post something? And by the way, just post the fucking truth on you. I didn't even have to fucking put anything else. Ringside News. New website, Steve. I want you to refigure your whole fucking thing. boozedbleacherbum.com.
Yo, he going nuts on this Ringside News guy. This shit is great. And he ain't wrong. That's the thing, though. Like on the Ringside News issue, he is not wrong. Ringside News is the drizzling shit. Oh, this dude, he's mad. Like, he big mad. He almost done, though.
Just Steve's fucking opinion. That's all that shit is. Your little pathetic Mark opinion. You ain't ever gonna be. You think you're gonna fucking get invited to any fucking shows? Even the low-life dirt sheets. Even the other low-life dirt sheets look at you and fucking think, what a clown, pathetic motherfucker. You turned me babyface on your own fucking site. Your own readers are a fucking shame to you. You made me out to be the biggest heel on your fucking site, and your own fucking followers and fucking readers turned me babyface like that yesterday. You fucking loser. God. Said you want to fucking come on with me. You fucking couldn't fucking hang with the big guy. Fucking sober, fucking drunk, fucking on pills, whatever the fuck you want to take.
You can't hang with the big guy.
Liquid courage. You are a grade A bitch. You are the laughing stock of the fucking wrestling community.
A grade A bitch. Pure, unrefined bitch. Uncondensed bitch. Ain't a purebred bitch, huh?
People that thought they hated my guts fucking sided with me over your pathetic sorry. Let that fucking thing sink in really good, Steve. You are a real fucking, you are something else. All right, enough of that, loser. Let's get on to the show.
Oh my God, bro. Ryback closing us out strong. Jesus in heaven. Ringside News. How do you come back from what's been going on with Ringside News? It seems like every other month that site is just imploding. And Ryback just destroyed these guys. You get destroyed by Ryback, of all people. I will say this, I hope Booker T beats Ryback's ass. I do. Or Mark Henry, one or the other. Somebody needs to put their hands on this guy and put him through a wall or something like that so he can stop calling people pussies and stuff. Like, these are not the men that you call, like, pussies and bitches and stuff all over the internet. You know, they do have stuff to lose now, but it's not a good idea. It ain't a good idea to be calling Booker T no pussy. I don't know if you're the kind of guy who could just call Booker T a pussy and that's just it. It's just gonna lay like that. That just doesn't seem to make sense to me. But Ryback is he's going balls to the wall. I'm almost certain Cornette's gonna be like, what the hell I got to do with this? I'm pretty sure Tommy Dreamer is gonna be like, I'm the nicest guy in the business next to Foley. What I got to do with this? Yeah, Tommy Dreamer is legitimately one of the nicest people in the world. Outside of his wanting to murder Paul Heyman for double crossing him, you can't find anything. Well, and I guess the Ric Flair thing, you can't really find too much negative to talk about when it comes to Tommy Dreamer. He's very nice to everybody. So the question is, like, why the hell is he saying fuck Tommy Dreamer? Fuck Bully Ray, yeah, I can see why you could say that. Bully Ray's got a reputation, but Tommy Dreamer, come on, nobody hates Tommy Dreamer. You may be tired of watching Tommy Dreamer wrestle, but you don't hate him as a person. You know, this is just ridiculous. I like hating Mick Foley. This is weird. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? You know? Yeah, like which is very strange because they never talk about the NDAs in AEW. The only person that actually mentioned the NDAs is when something major happens. Then all of a sudden they can't talk about that. You know, Jim Cornette is the only one who actually used the 3 letters NDA. But we know the NDAs occurred in most situations in which people get into it. There's usually some kind of non-disclosure agreement, so they couldn't talk about it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, most people just kind of understand that Tommy Dreamer exists. Like, but nobody actually hates Tommy Dreamer. You know, like that's so weird. You know, like Tommy Dreamer is like one of those people that he's in the world, and a lot of people know him, but it's not like you would cross the street to meet him, or that you would cross the street to get away from him. You know, he's the kind of guy, if you see him, you're like, oh shit, that's Tommy Dreamer, and you keep moving. You know, he won't even cross the street to shake his hand or anything like that. But to say, fuck Tommy Dreamer, I want to fight Booker T, it's like, oh yeah, whatever. That ain't energy drinks in your system, brother. If you start calling Booker T a pussy, and you know, you call Mark Henry all these kinds of names and stuff, bro, you got a little bit of something extra in your system. Probably not a good idea, man. I want to see what the fallout's going to be for this. Clearly, I don't think Booker T's going to go to like Las Vegas or whatever and beat his ass. But I can see them doing like a celebrity fight. You know, yeah, just do a celebrity boxing match or something. Somebody mentioned that in the comment section. Yeah, let's. Well, I guess is Ryback technically a celebrity? Like, he does food videos on his YouTube channel. Outside of the live streams where he's screaming at people, he does mostly videos of him eating, you know, flaming hot tacos in his in his car. It's like, and keeps trying to shill energy drinks and shit, energy powders. That shit is not nothing anybody is gonna be all that interested in, man. All right, we're gonna wrap things up. I gotta use the bathroom. Okay, it is hot. Thanks everybody for their time. Shaka quack quack. He got champagne wishes and caviar dreams. I love me some Booker T, man. That dude is great. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks to everybody who stopped by and everybody who will stop by. I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys later.